Hello everyone, welcome to Bunker Hill Baptist Church. My name is Jacob Brown, and this is a new segment we're starting. It's basically a kind of like a get to know you questionnaire thing, because I feel like especially me and many members of the church, we like to get to know like our fellow members. So I just wanted to use this video to help us get to know our members, and how fitting it is for the very first time we have our pastor, Brother Randy. Brother Randy, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. You're doing well. You doing okay?
I'm doing great. I wish I could get out of the house more. Quarantine, but oh well. Which is kind of like the first question I wanted to ask is how has quarantine like changed your everyday life?
Well, for me as a pastor, the thing that has changed probably the most for me is the freedom that I had before this virus, where I could go and visit and be at the hospital, be there and continue doing what I love to do, and that's ministering to people. And so this is pretty well has shut that down, and I'm really having a struggle with that, not having the freedom to go and be with my congregation, my people who have special needs in their life.
Yeah, and I can kind of relate to that because, like, especially me going to a college that's an hour away in Macomb, like it was like as soon as the plane landed, we found out we were getting an extra spring break. And now I really can't leave the house and go see him. And I kind of know how you feel. It's a big struggle because I made a lot of friends at the BSU there, and like it's kind of hard. Like just like FaceTiming them, I can see like face to face, but it's not the same as meeting in person. And I feel like me and you can relate to that.
Yeah.
I know one of the main things about me with quarantine was that I started picking up new hobbies. Like I'm starting to get good at piano, and I'm trying to buy a guitar because I want to get good at guitar. So that's another question I want to ask you. Did you pick up any new hobbies?
No, not really. I have certain hobbies that I love to do, and every opportunity I have to do that. Like I love to make fountain pens, turn those out of a piece of wood. Like to see a piece of wood and it come together and make pens. I love to refinish stuff, and so with the opportunity that I have, I about refinished everything I can refinish right now, and but I do love to go fishing, and so I've been fishing once or twice since this has been done. And to me, that was one of my passions before I came into the ministry was fishing. I love to fish, but as a pastor, a lot of times it's just not been a good time at any time to go fishing. So I've won a couple of times, caught a few fish, and I see now why I sold my boat and got rid of all of that when I went to ministry, because whenever this was over with, I'd probably be still on the lake. So, okay.
I remember being a kid, I would fish a lot, but like especially with quarantine going on, I've been telling my dad every single day because I have nothing else to do. So I'm like, hey Dad, let's go fishing. And I guess I battled fishing because I've caught like a couple brim and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna like transition to a new segment where I'm gonna ask some basic like questions so we can get to know our fellow pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main questions I want to ask you, especially me, I just graduated and got to high school.
Mm-hmm.
What was high school like for you? Plus, I also heard you were really good at football. Is that correct?
Well, let's see. High school for me was it's sort of a blur now at 68 years old, but in high school I enjoyed every bit of it except studying, and I really excelled in sports and athletics as far as that goes. That was my heart, my passion. I should have studied a little more on English and a few other subjects, but I didn't. But I did play football. I love football. I don't know, one of your questions that you said on here, you said you'd heard that I was a great football player. Well, I wasn't great. I was good at what I did because I love what to do, but great, no. Did I love it? Probably as much as I do eating, and I love to watch football as often as I can, mainly college ball now, and I'm not really into a lot of the pros, but I love college ball because they have a heart and a passion for it, and they really get at it. But high school for me was in a small town of Bassville. Everybody knew everybody, and you were just close. It was just like a family, and so I like all of the family participations.
Here's to a big hopes. Fingers crossed that we actually get to see some college football this year, hopefully. Do you know what positions you played in football?
Do what now?
Do you know which positions you played in football?
Yeah, I played tackle most of the time. I ran the ball usually about 18 times a game. Usually whenever they couldn't go any further, since I was probably one of the biggest guys. I weighed about 15 pounds. And so usually if we had third down and 7 or 14, they would usually send me in the backfield, see if I could get it. So, but those were the two, and then I punted. I was a punter, and those were the three positions that I did probably from ninth grade till I graduated.
Okay, okay, that's awesome. Moving on to like another question I had. I know that you used to work on the oil field, and that's another question I want to ask. What was it like to work on the oil field?
Well, my career in the oil field was in the 70s and mid 80s, and before I left. Back then, when we first started, we didn't have all of the, I guess you'd say, the technology that they do today. Most of everything we did was manual, so it was dirty, it was hot, and it was dangerous. It was one of those things that everything out on that oil rig that you work with can kill you or maim you if you're not paying attention. And usually a lot of the times it was human error that would cause some accidents and some things to happen. You were out, I was out in the Gulf, out on one of the big floaters, and we were several miles out. And, you'd get caught sometimes in a hurricane. And that's a little discerning. When you're drilling, you never know when you could have an accident and it blow out. So there was always that element of danger that you had out there, but it was also like family out there, because most of the guys you work with, you spend 7 days or 14 days with them at a time. And so you learn to take care of each other while you're out there and watch out for them. But it was a good experience. It was one that allowed me to take care of my family a lot better than I could just working a little job right there at Bassville.
It seems like a job like that would be really tough, and like y'all just gotta stick together. And I feel like that bonding would just become like a really big family.
Mm-hmm. You do, but probably one of the hardest things about being in the oil fields, like being in anywhere where you have to be away from your family any certain length of time, you miss a lot of great things like Christmases and Thanksgivings, and some things you had to sacrifice at that time to be able to take care of your family like you want to take care of. And so it's worth the sacrifice. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Another question I wanted to ask was working from the oil field and transitioning into the ministry. How was that? Was it difficult?
Well, I struggled for a long time. God had called me to preach, and I'd always tried to live for Him as best I could in the oil field. And I knew that God had been calling me to preach, and I'd been struggling against that. I wanted to be sure that I knew that that's what God wanted me to do. But finally, whenever I said, "Okay, Lord, I'll do what you want me to do. I will surrender to the ministry," and so I did. The transition from that wasn't hard, because you see, it was God who called me to preach, and so He enabled me to transition into a way from one family to another. In other words, I had a family that I worked with offshore. Most of us had been together years when we would work together, and so whenever I transitioned into the ministry, it was not really that difficult, because I was used to being around people, and I'd always tried to witness and do what I could. The last several years I was in the oil field, and so it was not a real hard transitioning, simply because I felt like if God called me, He would enable me to handle whatever situations that would arise and equip me. So I went to New Orleans and went to seminary, which was at 42 years old was a big change. But me and Carmen, they put us in the young couple dormitory, And we were the mom and pop because all the rest of them were young marrieds, and so that was a deal. But probably the hardest transition was going to college for me at 42 years old. And but the rest of it, people have been wonderful. Every ministry I've had has been a great opportunity for me. So no, the transition wasn't hard.
Okay. I feel like a transition like that wouldn't be hard because you know it's God's calling. God called you to ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you knew that was, I'm guessing you just had to you're like, okay, let's do this, and you just let go and just followed God.
Yeah, well, you know, Carmen and I talked about it and we prayed about it. You know, she had knew that God had been dealing with me for a while, and so you know, it was really not that hard to do. Once I said, I'm going to do this, God, I'm going to do what you want me to do. He just sort of opened doors, and he just sort of, you know, God will never call you to do anything that he don't equip you for. And so all he wants you to do is surrender to him. And so that's what I've done. And God has blessed me with great churches. And even with this one here at Bunker Hill, I mean, for 17 years, I've been here. So it has been wonderful.
That is amazing. All right, I got one more question to ask you, and it's probably a basic question that we've all been wondering about, Brother Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And with the coronavirus going on, many churches have been like closed. We can't be in person,
Mm-hmm.
so we had to think of like creative ways. Like some churches doing drive-up services, and some churches are doing like online services. So that's like one of the big questions I want to ask you. And it's, did you face any new challenges having to transition from preaching to like a full congregation of people to just basically preaching to a camera?
Absolutely. That's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is preaching into a camera. I'm one of these who are used to having interaction. When I'm preaching, I like to see the responses on people's face or no response whatsoever. I like to be out there to be able to communicate firsthand with everybody. We're preaching into a camera and looking into a camera. I don't know, maybe this is a little bit crass to say, but it's sort of like kissing your girlfriend over the telephone. It just don't really do you nothing, you know, but you know that somebody's out there listening. You know that God has given you a message and you preach it. But do I like it? No, I sort of feel like a fish out of water when I don't have people sitting in the congregation when you can see. But thankfully God gives me a message, and I'll preach to the camera and pray that there are those on the other side of the camera that are listening to what God has shared with me as I share it with them. Preaching to an empty church is one of the hardest things I probably have ever done. And will I ever get used to that? No, I won't. I like the being together before worship service. I like to see them just as a worship service begins. Those who nod their head in agreement, those who maybe will take a nap during the sermon. It doesn't matter. It's a family. And when you have your family together, it encourages you, you know. And so, it's been a lot, it's been different preaching to a camera. And if you notice, I don't really look into it that much right now while I'm talking to you. So, but that's been the biggest thing. I'm just uneasy, not comfortable. But I am comfortable if I have people that I can see and make eye contact with. But I'm just thankful that we have the technology that we do, that we can still broadcast a message and get it out. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. Brother Will has done a tremendous job making sure all of this gets done and gets down. And I think a lot of people don't really realize what goes into doing this. Not only is it hard for us, but we have to have somebody that can do the technical stuff. And Brother Will's been very good at that. So
that is really true. And I think the best news to know is that you're not the only pastor who's struggling with this problem of like having to transition from a full congregation of people to having to just preach to a camera to people online through Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's really tough. And I know for people like me, the best thing to do is that we're just going to have to wait this out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to have to just wait and pray and just hope that soon, and hopefully very soon, we'll all get to meet each other in person again for Convocation. That's all I had to ask you, Brother Randy. Is there anything you want to say to the people watching this video?
No, well, just the main thing is I hope that you're able to tune in to our services here, and I do pray that God will bless these services to your heart. And I do hope that you are praying that we can get together again. One lady I talked to said that she didn't realize just how important church was, being together, until she couldn't be here. And she waited for that day before we could all be together again. I hope you're in the same situation right now. But thank you for this opportunity to share some things about myself.
Thank you for the time and the opportunity as well to do this. Well, that's all we have. I'm Jacob Brown, and this is our pastor, Brother Randy, Bunker Baptist Church, and we'll see y'all next time.